Welcome to CGconnect, the home of the design and visualization community. I'm your host, Rick, and today we have a very special guest joining us from Budapest. He's a senior CG artist and the winner of the 2025 3D Awards for Best Non-Commissioned Image, one of the highest honors in our industry. Please welcome the incredibly talented Mátyás Kovács. We're diving deep into his career, where he finds inspiration and the evolving role of AI in our craft. Let's get started. I want to start this by once again thanking you for being here today. I know
Thank you.
it's a very busy life. Your life is very busy. I know that, and I appreciate the time, and I appreciate
Thank
you
you.
being, like up for this because I know not everyone likes to, have conversations over the internet and stuff and participate in podcasts. So I'm really, really glad that you're here. Thank you so much for coming.
And I'm really glad you invited me. You were kind enough to invite me for this interview. I don't really do much of podcasts at all, but I'm always glad to talk about our industry and some fellow artists. And, it's like a little bit, I missed the word this fast, and at least right now with this conversation, maybe got a little peek inside it through you. So
And
thank you
you know
for
what?
this. Oh, that's nice. Some merch time.
Yeah, it's
Always.
pure coincidence, really. I just grabbed whatever T-shirt I had this morning, and it happened to be this one, which is, I
It's a
think it's
nice
fitting.
pick.
Yeah,
It's a
it
nice
is.
pick, yes.
In the end, it was a nice pick. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Now, Matthias, I always start every conversation I have on this podcast by asking the most amazing question. It's actually trademarked at this point because I was the first one who thought of that. So my first question is, who are you? What do you do for a living? And why were you invited to this podcast anyway?
Nice, nice. Yeah, I never ever thought this could be a question. So thank you for inviting me, first of all, once again. My name is Mátyás Kovács, and I'm a senior CG artist living here in Budapest, Hungary. Um, right now, I'm working at a international architecture firm as a senior CG artist, and the reason why I'm here is that I was lucky enough to win the 2025 3D Awards, the best the non-commission image category, and I got awarded, and you were kind enough to invite me here, and
Yeah, and the
here I
funny
am.
part is that you were not able to make it, right?
Yes,
And
yes,
so
yes,
we we've only met virtually, which is
yes, through
kind of
emails
weird
and
if you think about it,
yeah,
right?
with short messages. But I want to highlight absolutely in the beginning that the fact that I could join via live and you guys live streamed it all, it was absolute game changer because we were in the very middle of moving from the Netherlands
I
to
remember, yeah.
Hungary, and it was just the worst time according the moving part that I couldn't be there in Poland, fortunately, but the fact that I could join in live, it was amazing. So also my friends and my family could join live, watching the ceremony, and no, I cannot be thankful enough for that opportunity.
Mhm. And I have to ask you, I know you got your trophy, one of these, right?
Yes, I
Uh,
do. Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
it
your
arrived.
birthday, wasn't it? It
Excuse me?
arrived. Yeah, it arrived around your birthday or something, wasn't it?
Yes, exactly. It actually arrived on the day before my birthday, so it was a perfect gift. It arrived safe and sound.
You're
It's
welcome.
Thank you, and thank you so much for posting it once again for me. So the award itself has already seen a lot from the world. So yes,
Cool, cool. Now, can you give us a hint on your background? Like, are you an architect? You mentioned that you're working for an international company right now. Are you an
Yes.
architect by craft? How did you start doing 3D? Because again, like every time I ask this, I get a different answer, really, because
Mm.
everyone has a different story. For example, my story started like 30 years ago. So the world was quite different than it is today. How was your start? How did you start in your career?
Yes. Well, basically, I wanted to be a painter or a graphic designer or something like this because I grew up surrounded by art. My mom and dad were graphic designers and painters, so it was kind of natural for me to step on the same path as they did. But at a point, my mother told me that, son, you got some brains, so please don't be a painter uh, or a graphic designer. You should move towards architecture or something. And I said,
Very
okay, good
encouraging.
point, good point, good point. So then mm, I had my bachelor and master degree in architectural design from here in Budapest. So I'm an architect, architecture designer, and I worked as an architect for 2 years, a little bit longer than 2 years. Um, and then I had a breaking point when I said that, okay, I had to ask myself that, is it really the thing that I would like to do during the entirety of my life? And the answer was no. But I also wanted to combine it with my passion, the painting and drawing, which I simultaneously were doing all along the years since my early childhood up until these days as well. And I wanted to have something, a profession that combines these two um, areas. So here came in the 3D world, the passion for architecture, the passion for design, and the passion for art itself. And it was quite handy to step in this field and learn a little bit about visualization. And I started to do fun projects while I was working there as an architect. And I soon realized that, okay, this this is gonna be the one that I can be really passionate about. And then applied to a visualization studio here in Budapest, and boom, it started.
And
And
how long ago was this?
how long ago was this? It was about, it was 9 years ago, maybe.
And you said you spent 2 years working as an architect, and you decided to change path. Anything in a specific that happened that made you like, oh, I don't want to do this thing anymore, or was like you just got tired of it?
Well, I realized that drawing sections and floor plans and talking with uh, with all these kind gentlemen in this industry just doesn't. I felt that it doesn't fulfill my passion. I felt like, okay, I had during the university years the chance to explore this field, and my possibilities here in Hungary were not so rewarding. Let me put it this way, at least for me personally.
As an
And I just, as an architect, yes, and I just miss that creativity, that spark, the exploring, the playfulness, the chance to um, experience new visions. Because in our architecture, being here an architect was quite strict, and you had to do this, you had to draw according to these budgets, according to these excels, and it was quite dry for me. So it was not a question if I changed, but it was a question of when,
That's
really.
interesting because like I'm an architect myself, and even today, every time I think about this profession, I think about creativity. I don't. I guess I just blocked the boring part of architecture, because yes, we spend hours and hours and hours drawing sections and dealing with clients and vendors and everything, the bad part of the profession. But it's interesting to see. I never thought of it that way, or at least it's not my main takeaway
Mhm.
from the profession. And then you found 3D, right?
Yes.
uh how was your beginnings like? I understand you were still working as an architect. You probably had some background from college, because
Yeah. Sure.
let's
Sure.
face it,
Yes.
everyone has a background in 3D from college days. And then how was your very start in this profession? Like, did you
How did the spark
notice at the
happen?
time?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like sometimes we start something and we don't realize it is a profession, right? Sometimes we just start. For example, you said that you started doing it because architecture was not fulfilling you in a way. And then did you realize at the time that you were actually switching to another profession? Like, okay, this is a profession, a different profession altogether. Because some people might think that it's not a different profession. It's just like a side gig. Like you're a football player, but it can be either a striker or you can be a goalkeeper, but you're still a football player. Do you think it that way, or do you think it's a totally different profession with different aspects and different challenges?
Well, it's quite complex because yes, in a way, we are we are architects as well. We are kind of architects because we are dealing with architecture, we are dealing with design, and it's I'm not saying it's mandatory to have a background in architecture or design to be a very good artist, but it can help. It can help understanding floor plan or understanding what the building is trying to tell us or what the architect is trying to tell us through the building and through the design. But I wouldn't say it's a whole different uh, kind of species because it's not. But many of us like to regard ourselves as graphic designers rather than architects. Or I know a lot of people who had no clue about architecture or how to read a floor plan, and they are one of the best artists I've ever seen. So they don't always go hand in hand. But for me, the lucky part when I got the spark at the university, I had the absolutely lucky situation that I was working together with people from many industries as well, like photographers, media designers, graphic designers, and so on. And I've seen them using 3D, for example, or After Effects, modeling, rendering, and so on. And while I was also doing it for my architectural projects at the university, I didn't pay that much attention to that, at least not for photorealistic approach. But then something happened when I saw just more and more fun projects here, lab projects there from the guys from different classes, and I said, okay, I feel something. And then I remember I started modeling lightsabers, and one of my first renders were lightsabers, like a close up of So my passion, for example, for Star Wars really helped me a lot in this because when I first realized that, okay, I can make a cool close-up shot of Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber, that's something. That's absolutely something. And from that point, I was drawn much more towards that area. And uh, during my years as an architect, I also tried to do visualizations and also did visualizations for the company I was working for. And from then on, I just tasted the blood, let me put it this way, and never looked back.
Now, you mentioned that it's not mandatory, but it's nice to have a degree in architecture. And by degree in architecture, I'm going to say that some knowledge in architecture, right? Because you
Yes.
might either have or have not a degree. You must know, right, your way around a project. Do you think it's part of the visualizer's job to, and I'm going to use a word, maybe it's not the right word, but to interfere in the design when they see something is not working?
Well, it's always nice when you have a thinking artist who is not only doing his good job, what he has to do, but a little bit thinking deeper. And when he sees that something is off, something is not the way it should be, or is it sure that the architect was trying to do this or something? So it's good to have this kind of feeling in yourself, but I, I'm not sure if it should be the job of the artist, but I'm the one who is thinking like this, and if I see that something is off as an architect, I try to raise the question itself that, okay, was it on purpose that the architect drew this, or is it just a mistake or an exporting bug or something? And most of the times it's really helpful, but it also happens that after few tries, I got the answer. And okay, just do your thing. Uh, it happens. Both
Shut up and
happens.
work.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
happens.
I'm
So
asking you this because sometimes I feel like the visualizer, if whether he or she is an architect or not, we kind of have the sight beyond sight. You know, there's an old cartoon, the Thundercats, where the guy
yeah,
would have the sight beyond sight. He could see things that no one else could. And sometimes I feel like in a design, when you're so immersed in your own design, you start missing some things that might be obvious to other people.
absolutely,
And and I've
absolutely.
seen a fair share of of visualizers that simply don't care, or I don't know why they don't point out those things. For example, like, yeah, you have this stairs and they lead to nowhere. Let's say, of
Yeah,
course, it's
exactly.
absurd, but
That's
they just don't raise the question at all. Like, whatever, it's not my job.
yeah. That's why I also said that I think it's important to be a thinking artist, to not just don't only focus on your job, but try to get the bigger picture. Try to get what the message should be here. That's a stair that should be leading to somewhere, from somewhere. Uh,
Preferably.
so raise a question. Yes, yeah, I absolutely
Cool.
agree. Yes.
Yeah, and but speaking of job, what is, in your opinion, the job of the ArcViz artist? Exactly. What's your job? Like, what is something that you have to do and not anywhere else? Because, for example, like, okay, it's not my job to check the project, the whole design for flaws. Sure, it's not. It's good when you do because you can raise your hand and say, okay, this is not working, because you know that it's going to be a change later on, right? You know that the client will see that and be like, oh no, it's not like that. Please do it again the right
Yeah.
way. Of course,
Yeah.
there's a selfish component to that. But do you think that the job of the visualizer is just to create the image? And if they're creating the image, how far do you have to go in order to do your job? Meaning, how far do you go when you're creating an image? Then, like, okay, I am making these decisions rather than following the client's directions.
Well, for me, if you're pointing at me right now, what I think an artist should do, or how I perceive being an CG artist, a visualizer, I think my goal is to transfer a message through the building, to try to get to know the building, to the profile of the building, the design, because every time there's a kind of message with the design, with the building. It was designed for someone, uh, for for a location, with a purpose. It has forms, it has shapes, it has some kind of message, and every single time, my first thing is to find this meaning, to find this pattern, to find this character that I could translate somehow to the viewer. And I don't like to regard myself or as this industry as render button only, because that's absolutely a sad thing when it comes to that thing. Of course, it happens from time to time that all they ask us just, okay, push the render button. Okay, we don't want to see any artistry or any moods. Just let me see all the four walls, and okay, it happens, and you then have to push the render button. But that's not the beauty of our profession, I think, and that's not what I'm aiming for, but to transfer a story, to always to write a kind of poem or to make a painting. And if it's photorealistic painting, let it be. If it's a brush strokey, sketchy something that brings the message much closer to the viewer, then let it be. It also depends on the profile and the character of the design itself. So that's my priority as a visualizer, to find that kind of message that the design itself is bringing in it. And my job here is to open it up and explore it, play around it. Let's see different angles, because many times even the architect doesn't know a lot of angles of the building, because he hasn't tried to walk around with the eye, for example, of a different kind of species of artist. So it's my job to explore, to play around, find new messages, new poems in it, I think.
And it's interesting that when you mentioned that I don't want to be the artist who just pushes the render button, right? We're coming to a new place now with AI, that basically there is a way for people to just press render,
Yeah,
right? We're seeing that quite a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
lately. And the nice thing that you said is that that is actually not your job.
No,
You're not there
no,
to push the button, because anyone can push a button. Like
yes,
as I used to say, any well-trained monkey is able to push a button. It doesn't take an artist to do that. And the work you do, because you're an artist, is not pushing that button. It's to getting to a point where you can push that button. And for
exactly.
me, basically, and personally, that's the main concern I have with AI, because I see a lot of people repeating the same images over and over and over again. They all look the same. And that's because they are all using the same tool. And what we see there is the tool doing its stuff, basically. Now, I
Yes.
have another question regarding technology, because it would be too easy to drift away from our main subject here, which is the profession, and start talking about AI. There's a lot to talk about AI,
Yeah,
and I'm pretty
absolutely.
sure it would be an easy click, right? It would be a clickbait of sorts. But what I wanted to ask you is, actually, I have two questions.
Okay.
Your image, your winning image at the awards last year,
Mhm.
it was not like your regular bread and butter image, right? Because you're looking from below, you have those climbers and the ice and everything. Like, do you often, or are you often able to pull that sort of image off with clients? Because from like in the first at first sight, it's like, you're not showing my beauty. I want to see the bolts and the nuts and the cracks and
Yeah, yeah,
everything
yeah.
that goes into the building, and then you're not showing it. You're showing two old guys climbing a wall, and I don't like that. Do you manage to slip that into the cracks of a design with your real clients?
Well, it happens sometimes. You have to be lucky for that, to have the proper client for that. First of all, it's like it's a wise thing to choose your enemy. They say you have to do it correctly, and if you have the luck to have that kind of client who is open for this kind of imagery, then you can try. And I think that if the image is good enough in itself, even if the architecture itself is only 5% or 10% on the canvas, uh, if that's something that gives you a mood, a feeling, a story, even if the story is just a shape or just a shadow or a movement or guiding lines or something towards the building, even if the building is hidden somewhere, but there's a message that can be delivered, then yes, yes, there are examples of that. Yes, not every time, because of course, yeah, light it up because even it's daylight, but they must know that there's a coffee shop, so please lit up space. So okay, it
And all of a sudden
happens.
the coffee shop is the most important aspect of the
Yeah,
whole project, right? Like you're building a multi-million-dollar building and they want you to focus on the Starbucks that's
yes,
on the
because
ground.
it's an important feature. Of course, I get it. I understand it. Is it important for me? No, but it's an applied art after all. What we are doing, and exactly this is why I'm making my love projects at home, when I can be my own client, my own art director. Um, so yeah, that's a whole different thing. But my aim is to bring the same kind of approach into the everyday life, and to show
Mhm.
that it is really possible to make a kind of poetry, and this kind of freedom and playfulness in architectural images as well. Yes.
Great. And my second question, still regarding the technology, again, I'm not talking about AI because that would be too easy, but we do have a bunch of technologies that can apply to visualization right now. We're talking about real time rendering, for example,
Mhm.
just to keep it inside chaos. Like you have Vantage, you have
Yeah.
Enscape, you have Envision, you have a lot of options to have real time renderings at your fingertips. You have pretty much every tool you can imagine, especially, and I want to bring this up, things like this, for example, which is,
Yes.
if you're not familiar with this, this is a VR headset, right? Uh,
Yes.
which
Yes.
I quite enjoy mine. But the thing is, do you see those technologies actually being used by artists? Like from do you use those technologies, or do you see your colleagues or friends using those technologies, or do you think that in the end people are still the same they were 10 years ago, like they're still, you know, taking their time and creating their images and not, worrying about VR or AR or XR or AI or whatever other acronym you may think of.
Well, it's kind of a mixed thing because, as you mentioned, for example, the VR headset, I can count on my two hands how many times I use it in the office. Not that much, not that much, honestly. Um, the same with AR. I think it's just not that common where I am right now. But probably with other studios they use it much more often. It happens, but not so regularly. But real-time rendering is something we use from time to time, mostly, for example, for camera movements, checking for transitions, quick drafts, quick animation drafts, for example, in the beginning phase of a project, but not for the high quality production itself. So it's mostly for a test, a great test tool to test your ideas quickly at first. Um, but as for AI, it's a whole another thing. I don't want to jump to AI right now, but I tend to see that we use AI much more often than, for example, VR or AR or um, real-time rendering. Uh, yes,
And
yes.
why is
In
that?
many,
Because the tools are
why is
available
that?
to everyone. right? Everyone has access to a headset like this. It costs like roughly $500, yeah, but you can find
Mm.
cheaper versions. So it's not like a deal breaker at this point. But why do you think that AI kind of became a trend and VR, as impressive it is, and again, I'm just comparing those two because, right? I don't have
Mm.
a specific reason for that, but why do you think that AI became a trend much more, I don't know, much stronger maybe than VR ever was, even though
Mm.
VR has been around like forever now, like for many years.
Yeah, it's interesting because I had conversations with guys who were absolutely into VR and VR headsets, and the conclusion is often the same that using a VR headset is uncomfortable. For example, if you are at a conference or something, it's quite difficult uh, to call people that, hey, just come here and take it on. And the guy with a Rolex is walking there with the perfectly shaped hair. He will never take on a VR headset because it ruins his hair, for example. But using AI is kind of a one-click miracle. It's instant. It's very comfortable, even for lazy people, even for those who just don't want to mess around with their hair to see something new. So it's much more instant gratification, while VR is a little bit more robust in a way, and also in VR, I really not seeing that much use of it in my environment. So we don't have uh, clients who are asking for that much VR content because maybe they don't like to show their images in VR or animations in VR to their clients for different reasons. So they just don't ask us that much. But AI is a whole another thing.
Do you think that VR and some other techs are just not good enough for people to embrace them? Because and I'll give you an example. I was talking to Andras from Brick another day, and I had told him that I bring my VR headset when I travel, when I fly,
Mm.
because I'm located in Brazil, so every flight to the US or to Europe is a long flight. So like there's only so many movies you can watch and that very little and low quality screen that you have on an airplane. So I usually take my headset, and
Mm.
he told me like, yeah, but I can't watch movies in that. It's not good. And I was like, I couldn't either. Then I bought this new version. I had the Quest 1, the Quest 2. Now I had the Quest 3, and now
Mm.
it's kind of good enough. So I do watch movies. I enjoy consuming content. The
Mm.
same with the Vision Pro or whatever. Uh, do you think that maybe what we're seeing here is that for our specific use for architecture, for design and everything, the technology is not good enough because if I'm like watching a movie, I'll be probably sitting down, laid back, resting or whatever. But when I'm trying to, discover a new design, I'll be probably standing, and I'll have like, I don't know, maybe some gel on my hair, and I'll be dressed up or whatever. So it's, again, at this point, the technology is not good enough because it's not light enough. It's not fast enough. It's not realistic enough. It's not. Do you think it has anything to do with it?
Yeah, I think it has to, because if you just imagine a future where instead of your fantastic VR headset, you're gonna have a little chip just behind your ear, and instantly you see the screen in front of you as a holographic, and only you can see it. Then you won't look silly. Then you won't feel this kind of heaviness. You won't have to bring the stuff with you on the airplane in a separate bag and so on. So I think it has to do something with it. Yes, it's still a little bit robust. It's not there yet, But if you could switch on a screen right now on your glasses, uh, and while talking to me, you could scroll all those messages from CGconnect or something, I think you would use that, and everybody would use it because it's much more handy, much more easy, and it's unnoticeable. While the headsets are absolutely noticeable things, and people sometimes just don't like to look like so noticeable that everyone can absolutely tell that, okay, this guy is into some kind of VR something right now. Ooh, what could it be? But if you use it kind of invisible, that's another thing. Maybe that's gonna be a turning point for VR.
I have this impression, and this is, again, this is personal, that in the end, we are the limit. I'll give you an example. When I was younger, let's put it that way, cell phones were getting smaller and smaller and smaller, right? So, like, you had a big phone like this, and then it started to shrink, shrink, shrink. And then there was this from Motorola called the Microtech.
Mhm.
It was like this big. And then instead of it becoming maybe a headset that you would just like just touch it and then you can make a call or whatever, they started to grow again because people were not really into using small devices like that. So in the end, it
Yeah.
was pretty much a problem that we were not using it. Like, we're simply not using it. Oh, but it's so light, it's so small. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like the how it feels in my head. So it's very subjective. So I
Yes.
think that with technology, we are still in a phase that everything is really subjective, and that will finally lead me to AI.
Mm.
We have this thing that AI will solve the world's problems, but the best thing AI has done so far is a video of Will Smith eating spaghetti. Basically, is, of course, I'm generalizing here, but
Yeah, yeah.
for the regular customer, it's pretty much like that. We're creating videos, we're creating memes, we're creating whatever, but we're not actually using it. So my question is, if you use, and you probably do, AI on your work, what do you use it for?
Well, it's a really good question. I use AI in my work. I also use AI in my lab projects, for example. But many times I reach for AI in the later phases. For example, my favorite thing in visualization industry is to explore, play around, uh, rotating the sun, rotating the sky, walk with the camera, like WASD around things, and uh, and when I get an idea, when I have my vision, and I try to build it kind of the old school way, I get a base for that. And then, for example, like on sketching faces, there comes the photo bashing, matte painting part, where I tend to use photos, for example, or you know, available images. And sometimes at that point, I like to use AI for placeholders. For example, if I'm making a desert scene, for example, and I can't instantly find something as a placeholder on, on the internet that I can just grab for 5 pixels and put there for me as a reminder that, okay, there's gonna be a sandy dune or something. I use AI for that, for example, to as a placeholder, as a reminder for myself for the sketch that, okay, here I want to have this sandy, curvy stuff, for example. And later on, I replace it with the render. And that's one part of AI in the sketching phase. Also with the same with characters, that I know that I want to have a silhouette of a man close to the camera, and it's just really easy to um, to prompt it that put the silhouette of a man close to the camera, and I can blur it, and it's a great placeholder for the sketch for myself. And it's a great reminder that I later on I have to replace it. And on the later phase, when I have a good base, good render that I'm quite happy with, the next phase is the enhancing part. That's where I use, for example, Magnific AI for enhancing certain parts of the image. And it's also really important, I think, for everybody to see and learn what is it good for and what is not good for. Because one thing that I try to avoid and encourage everyone to not do this, to enhance everything, use AI for it, and leave it that way, because they just most of the time it's floppy. You will see AI flops everywhere. Sorry for the word, but you have to be aware of that, how you use it, where to use it, and especially if you are trying to achieve some kind of photorealism, it's a crucial thing to think critical towards your own image. And as soon as there's a little question mark, for example, on the trees, on the vegetation, or someone's face is messy because of the AI messed it up, you must recognize it immediately and try to find some kind of solution for it. Model it, re-render it, use the render itself. Don't use the AI on that. Be aware of that, where you can use it and where you cannot. And that's something that I see very, very often on social media as well, that people just don't care. They 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 feed the AI with their images, their renders, and whatever it drops out, they're gonna use it, and they are fine with it. And it's just so sad to see that, because it just lacks a whole ton of awareness. It lacks a whole ton of um, reason behind it, So these are the parts that I use AI in the sketching phase for placeholders, for myself to remind myself, and enhancing certain parts. For example, organic elements. Also on the winner image that I made, the red tower, I used on some parts of the snow and on some parts of the ice, some enhancing, because there are things that are quite impossible or takes too much time, too much money to achieve those kind of details, especially if you are doing it for yourself, for fun, uh,
Mm.
and not for commercial purposes. So, and I think also that those who say that I will never use AI because it just takes away the joy of creating for me. Uh, I can also understand those people, because there are things that we love in this industry, and there are reasons we are doing it the way we are doing it. For me, AI is a tool, just as much as Photoshop, just as much as 3ds Max and Corona, or Magnific or After Effects or whatsoever. These are tools. Tools will change. My reason to create something, to explore, to play around, will never change. If AI is gone in 2 weeks, I will be absolutely happy. If it stays, I will be absolutely happy, because there are going to be ways that I can enhance my work with it. But every single time, I just want to be sure that I'm the one who is thinking, I'm the one who is having the vision, I am the one who is having something to share, to tell a story. And then, and only then, I do pick my tools. If it's AI, for some parts, it's AI. If it's an absolutely mind-blowing amount of time of rendering and simulating, then that's what it's gonna be, because that's gonna be the one that contributes the most to my vision. So that's how I regard it.
Nice. Now, I'm thinking something here, and I don't want to make this deep or anything, but we all know that there's there has always been a barrier to artists in Archviz. Like you have artists that are so good that they can create photorealistic content with maybe like a piece of coal and a carton or whatever, right? Because they're really good artists. And you have those, I don't want to say this in a demeaning way, but the more mediocre artists, like because they are right in the middle, who are not able to create photorealistic. Just giving an example of the outcome, and
Mhm.
AI has likely reduced that barrier a little because now you can literally grab a viewport screenshot and make it look like a photorealistic piece. And that reminds me of a quote from that movie Incredibles, The Incredibles from Pixar.
Yeah.
Elastigirl is talking to Dash, right? The 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 speedy kid, and she says, everyone is special. And then he replies, which is just another way of saying that no one really is. Do you think that applies to AI as well? Like AI is making everyone special in a way that now no one really is?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay, just my phone's
Yeah,
got low.
it's flicked for a second.
Okay, so well, yeah, the quote is everyone is special. Uh, it's true. Is everyone capable of creating special content or above average? No. Uh, should the is it a bad thing? No, I don't think so. But the question that AI is making everyone's vision special and also elevates the average artists to a height that was only achievable prior that with hard years of craftsmanship and learning. Uh, it's an interesting question. I tend to see the tendency that people are rather uh, try to really focus on the effort behind something, and you know, as the one click photorealistic images kind of float the internet and the social media. Uh, I also realized that when, for example, I scroll through stories of for example, the CGconnect stories, and sometimes I can instantly see that okay, it's 99% AI this image. Scroll, and I just tend not to care because I just really missing that kind of spark, that curiosity that I can recognize in fellow artists. And it's a strange thing because AI is very good in creating average stuff. And in a way, it also helps the not it also helps to those who are aiming for more than average. So for example, if here I am, or here you are, or anybody who is trying to reach for something special or unique and not happy with the average, okay, good job. Seen it before several times. It also gonna separate us, I think, and there's gonna be a little bit much more need of that kind of special thing, opposing to that average that now everyone can do. I think it's a changing phase right now. People, the viewers are slowly realizing that okay, it's the kind of AI fatigue, uh, if I may say that, that they try to they kind of recognize it's AI, it's AI, it's AI, and it's kind of losing its value. Whereas if you see an original image, even if it uses some AI elements or has enhancement or the it has photobashed and matte painted AI areas in there, it's okay, absolutely, because it's used as a tool to express a message and not just to one click uh, like collecting tool. So yeah, it's a difficult thing. is special because democratizing something like this, giving the tool that makes everyone kind of an expert, is is dangerous. But it also helps the real artists with a goal, with an intention to stand out, I think.
Now, to finish our conversation, I wanted to ask you one thing. The value of things, name it art, architecture, whatever, has historically come from the amount of work that people put into it. If you see the pyramids, you'll be like, oh my God, imagine the amount of work to build such a marvelous construction. If you go to like the Vatican and you see the Sistine Chapel, you'll be like, my God, can you imagine the work? Like one guy painting all this, like being this good. Of course, it's never passing for a photo, right? But still, we see a lot of value in that. Do you think that we are losing that with AI and all these numerous tools that we have at our disposal? Do you think that the value of things is no longer, or it's going in a direction that it will eventually no longer be measured by the amount of human work put into it?
Uh, I think it's kind of the opposite because of this immersive amount of fast and cheap and average stuff. Because of this, I think there's gonna be a trend. I hope it will last for long. That the effort put in things will get much more valuable and valued. I don't necessarily think that the more time I spend with something is going to be the more valuable, because no, uh, for example, if you regard Leonardo da Vinci was or Michelangelo whatsoever tried to paint something for years, and it has a value. If you regard, for example, Paul Klee or avant-garde artists with spending few minutes with a painting, it has a value. It for me, uh, as myself, in the past I was painting and drawing something for hours, for weeks. It happened. I was painting and drawing one of my favorite paintings in 20 seconds or 20 minutes, and it's it's not relevant for me, the pace, the time spent on something. The relevant is the idea, if you have something to tell or you don't. But but there but there's an effort that's leading to that point, because I spent many years in learning art. I spent many years with the charcoal in my hand, studying ancient masters, uh,
Enabling
and
yourself to be able to do that, right? To do it in
yes,
20
exactly.
seconds, 20 minutes, or whatever.
Absolutely. And if you, for example, look at Picasso's drafts when he was sketching a bullfight and whatsoever, these are few moments of drawing, and it's bring that much passion and knowledge. So it's not the thing how many time it takes for me to make this drawing, to make this render, make this image, because it's possible to make the best sketch or image of the year in half an hour. But you spent years before that, for example, probably to reach this kind of way of looking. So that's the important, and it can be seen. I think it absolutely can be seen, and it will be. I think.
Great, great. That's uplifting, really, because I'm always scared that people will stop, or eventually they will not see value in what others do, like regardless if it's painting, it's drawing, it's singing, or whatever. People will not see value in that, and I it's really reassuring to see that maybe that's not the only way things are going, which is pretty cool. Mátyás,
Yes.
I wanted to say once again, thank you so much for being with us this evening.
It was a
Thank you,
pleasure.
thank you, thank
Thank
you
you.
from the bottom of my heart. It was a very nice conversation, and I really hope to see you again this year in person at the World Viz Fest. That's going to happen, like the World Viz Fest. That yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's going to happen again in Warsaw in June 18, 19, and 20 in June. So I'll be there with the 3D awards, and I would really love to meet you there in person, so I can proper greet you for your award from last year. And for you guys that are still with us, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to go to cgconnect.ks.com for more content like this, for more podcasts, for more shows, live shows, on demand content, the latest news, and everything you can imagine from the home of visualization and design. Thank you so much.
Thank you once again, and thanks for the invitation. And I will try to do my best to be there this year and properly grab a beer or two and immerse ourselves with talks about AI and the mysteries of life. So I'm looking forward to this. And thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, everyone.